All right, stop the presses, because the Browns have just pulled off the kind of move that makes the entire NFL blink, double-check the depth chart, and say, wait, what? Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback who's been quietly lighting up practice behind closed doors, isn't going to the practice squad. Nope, not happening. Instead, Cleveland's locking him down as their official third-string quarterback. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Not playing time, yet, but a seat at the real table. And in case you don't realize how rare this is, that's not what teams usually do with late-round or undrafted rookies. Not unless they're terrified someone else is going to swoop in and steal the bag. And friends, Cleveland is terrified. So why the panic? Why not just slide Shedeur onto the practice squad like any normal rookie backup plan? Because they know, deep down, under all the politics, all the optics, all the loyalty to other QB investments, they know what they've got, or at least what they might have. This isn't about what Shedeur has done in actual NFL games. Yet, this is about what's happening in practice, where the media doesn't always get full access, where fans can't scream from the stands, but where talent quietly screams for itself, where coaches watch throws that make them glance at each other like, did he just do that? Apparently, he's doing that, consistently. Word is, Shedeur's been putting on clinics in team drills, tight windows, fast reads, NFL-caliber velocity. Stuff that most rookies struggle to even conceptualize, much less deliver with confidence. And not just highlight throws. He's reportedly commanding the huddle like he's been in the league for 3 seasons. And that's exactly why the Browns are making this move. Because, make no mistake, this isn't a promotion. It's a shield. It's a roster chest move designed to protect him. Because if he were on the practice squad, any team in the NFL could sign him to their active roster. All it takes is one team with a QB injury or a long-term plan that sees Shedeur as a potential gem, and poof, he's gone. Cleveland's not ready to lose him, even if they're not ready to play him. Yet, and that's the kicker, isn't it? Because this move, keeping him as QB3 while still giving others a spotlight, reeks of organizational hesitancy. They see the talent. They feel the heat from fans. They hear the media whispers. But instead of making a bold leap, they're hedging. Sitting on him like he's a rare stock they're afraid to cash in on too early. You've seen this before, right? When a team doesn't want to admit they found something special because it screws with their pre-made plans. That's what's happening here. The Browns already committed resources, reps, and reputation into other guys, namely Dillon Gabriel, who's been eating up the number 2 reps. They don't want to walk back those investments just because a late rookie is showing them up. But talent doesn't care about your depth chart politics. Talent shows up and forces the issue. And that's what Shedeur is doing. Now, from the outside looking in, this probably seems like a smart move, right? Stash the kid, let him learn, protect him from being poached. And sure, yeah, it's a safe play. But in the NFL, playing it safe is sometimes just another way of saying, we don't trust what we see yet. So the real question is, what's the holdup? Because Shedeur is doing everything right. His practice reps are sharp. His decision-making's clean. He's reportedly building strong chemistry with backup receivers, some of whom are already lobbying behind the scenes, like, we might want this guy in the mix sooner than later. Even the fans are catching on. Brown's Twitter is already a mess of highlight breakdowns, slow-motion clips of Shedeur throws, and people asking, why is this guy not getting more attention? It's starting to feel like a grassroots campaign. QB3 with a cult following, the kind of fever you can't fake. And then there's the elephant in the room, his last name. That Sanders name carries a spotlight and a target. There are some in the league, and yeah, even in the media, who can't help but roll their eyes, as if Shedeur didn't earn this opportunity, as if his father's shadow somehow discredits his work. You know how it goes. Nepotism, they whisper. Hype, they scoff. Never mind that he's backing it up in every measurable way. If you're famous before you even take a snap, people will doubt you longer than they should. But guess what? The name isn't why Cleveland is protecting him. It's the arm, the IQ, the command, the leadership. That's what has the Browns nervous. Because they know if they let him go, even for a second, there are at least a dozen teams who'd snatch him up by lunch and never look back. Teams who've seen this movie before. Teams who remember what happens when you pass on a diamond in the rough too long, and someone else picks up the rights to the franchise. So Cleveland's hedging, playing the long game, keeping Shedeur close enough to feel like part of the plan, but not in the plan. And that's where it gets risky. Because this kind of limbo, it doesn't last. Eventually, one of two things happens. Option one, Shedeur gets a shot. Whether it's due to injury, inconsistency, or a total shift in team direction, he ends up on the field. And when he does, the franchise either wakes up to what they've got or realizes too late that they've already mismanaged it. Option two, they sit on him too long. The league notices. Other teams start making moves. And Shedeur? He starts wondering if his future really lives in Cleveland, or if this was just a holding pattern for something bigger, somewhere else. And honestly, can you blame him? Because talent like this doesn't want to sit on a shelf forever. It doesn't want to be a what if. It wants to lead. Shedeur is not just auditioning for the Browns. He's auditioning for everyone. And everyone's watching. Every practice report. Every sideline clip. Every hint of frustration from inside that quarterback room. This is bigger than Cleveland now, which makes this whole third-string thing feel like a very fancy glass cage, like the Browns know they got something rare. But they're too scared to let it out. They're hoping no one else notices. But here's the problem with that plan. Everyone already has. Front offices across the league are watching. Coordinators are asking questions. Quarterback coaches are pulling up practice footage, zooming in on footwork, velocity, timing. The whispers are getting louder. And if Cleveland doesn't move first, someone else will. That's the danger in underestimating a rising star. You don't get to control the narrative forever. Eventually, the talent speaks loud enough to override the politics. And when that happens, you either ride the wave or drown in it. So here's the moral of this wild, very Cleveland story so far. The Browns might have stumbled into something special. Not a social media star. Not a legacy name. Not a fun preseason guy. A quarterback. A leader. The kind of player who might not come around again for a long time. And right now, he's standing on the sidelines, watching, learning, waiting, probably wondering if this franchise is actually going to give him a real shot, or just treat him like an insurance policy they're too scared to file. So what's it going to be, Cleveland? You going to trust what you see? Or let another future starter slip through your fingers while you protect your plan? Because the rest of the league won't wait forever. And neither will Shedeur Sanders. Drop your take in the comments. Should Cleveland give him the keys now or risk losing him to someone else? And don't forget to subscribe for more delicious NFL drama. Because something tells me this saga is just heating up. We're watching a story unfold that could define a franchise or expose it. Time to find out which. Okay, so let's really zoom in now. Because we're not just talking about a third-string quarterback quietly making waves behind the scenes. No, this is starting to feel like a full-blown power struggle wrapped in a roster spot. And the Browns? They're standing at the edge of something they haven't felt in a long time. Potential. But not the usual, PR-crafted, hope-flavored press release kind. No, this is real potential. Dangerous potential. The kind that could flip the quarterback hierarchy on its head. If they're brave enough to stop clinging to safe. But for now, they're hedging. They've put Shedeur Sanders in what I like to call football purgatory. Not buried. Not elevated. Just suspended. Technically on the roster, but nowhere near a snap count. Protected, but not empowered. It's like parking a Ferrari in your garage, throwing a tarp over it, and continuing to take your 2006 Corolla to work because you know how it drives. But here's the thing. Sooner or later, someone is going to look under that tarp. And when they do, they're going to ask the Browns a question they better be ready to answer. If you really believed in him, why didn't you play him? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't say, he's too talented to expose the practice squad, and also, he's not ready to even back up. You can't talk about his arm strength, leadership, and mental toughness in interviews, and then glue him to the sideline like he's an afterthought. That's not protection. That's indecision. And indecision in the NFL, that's just a slow way of losing. Let's go inside that quarterback room for a second. Picture it. You've got your starter. Let's call him your official face of the franchise, for now. Then your QB2, likely someone the front office invested a draft pick in. Maybe they look good in camp. Maybe they know the playbook better. Fine. But every day in drills and reps in the film room, there's Shedeur, the third guy, the quiet disruptor, the player making throws that turn heads, reading the defense like he's seen the script, finishing every drill with the kind of command that makes you forget he's not even supposed to be in this conversation. That's where the pressure builds. Not in front of the cameras, behind closed doors. And the tension? It's getting thicker by the week. Because how long can the Browns pretend this is just a development year when the guy you're developing is outperforming your investments? You think players don't see that? They do. You think the coaching staff doesn't feel it? They do. And fans? Oh, they're not stupid. They're watching the preseason footage. They're tracking every whisper that leaks out of training camp. And they're starting to ask the question the Browns have been avoiding like a bad ex at a reunion. Why is this kid still on the bench? Now let's talk about what happens if things go wrong. Because the Browns love a quarterback controversy, don't they? If the starter throws a couple of picks in back-to-back games, if the offense starts stalling midseason, if the team hovers at .500 with no spark in sight, that's when the noise hits peak volume. And you better believe the name on everyone's lips won't be the current starter or the chosen backup. It'll be the third stringer, the break glass in case of chaos option, the guy who hasn't even played a snap, but somehow owns the moral high ground, Shedeur Sanders, because that's the power of potential. It doesn't even need playing time to become dangerous. It just needs comparison. Every time the Browns struggle, people will look at the sideline, and every time Shedeur stands there, helmet on, calm, unreadable, they'll think, what if? And what if is the most powerful and most damning question in football. But here's the crazy part. Shedeur's not pushing for the spotlight. He's not causing drama. He's not out here leaking to media or giving cryptic, just waiting on my moment interviews. No Instagram tantrums. No passive-aggressive stories. He's doing the one thing most rookies in his position struggle with. He's staying composed. And somehow, that's even more dangerous. Because he's not playing the game. He's letting the game play itself. And Cleveland is playing with fire. Now, let's address the doubters. The he hasn't earned it crowd. The he's only a third stringer because he's not ready crew. Let's be real. If he wasn't ready, if he wasn't flashing, if he was just another guy, Cleveland would have dropped him to the practice squad without blinking. No drama. No headlines. No strategy. But that's not what happened. They locked him onto the 53-man roster like he's a national secret. Because deep down they're afraid. Not afraid of failure, but afraid of being wrong. Afraid that if they let him go, he'll show up in some other jersey, say Atlanta or Houston or any QB-hungry franchise, and explode. And when that happens, the narrative will be brutal. You had the guy, and you let him rot on the bench. It's the kind of mistake franchises don't live down. The kind fans never forget. Ask any team that ever passed on Tom Brady, or let Kurt Warner bag groceries, or watch Patrick Mahomes from across the sideline wondering, how did we not see this? So the Browns are clenching, tight, because letting him go is terrifying. But letting him play, that means admitting he might have been the best option all along. And that kind of admission, it requires humility, which is not exactly Cleveland's strong suit. Let's talk future. Let's say the Browns finish the season around 8-9, miss the playoffs. Their starter never quite finds a rhythm. Their backup shows flashes but lacks consistency, and all the while, there's Shedeur, still on the roster, still holding that clipboard, still making throws in practice that remind people of guys starting for other teams. What do? You can't stash him forever. You can't hide him behind loyalty and sunk cost fallacy. Eventually, you got to make a call. Either commit or risk watching him leave and become the headline you never wanted to read. Former Browns QB Shedeur Sanders shines in new system, becomes face of franchise. Can't you see it now? ESPN graphics, interviews with wide-eyed GM saying, "We always believed in him," while Cleveland fans drown in regret. Because here's the bottom line. Talent this loud doesn't wait politely. It knocks, then it kicks, then it walks straight into the spotlight, with or without your permission. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is knocking. So Browns fans, get ready, because this is no longer about just one roster decision. This is a chess match, a war between legacy, ego, and raw talent, a silent storm building behind the scenes, ready to rip through the status quo the second someone gives an opening. And when it does, don't say you didn't see it coming. So now I've got to ask, what would you do? Start him? Trade him? Let him cook behind the scenes until the pressure forces a change? Because one way or another, this story is moving, and fast. All right, so we've made it this far. Shedeur Sanders, the third-string quarterback who's somehow the most talked-about name in Cleveland. He's not starting. He's not second string. And yet, he's the guy everyone's secretly watching. Let's not pretend we don't know what this is. It's not just a roster decision. It's a franchise trying to thread an impossible needle, hold on to a potential star, without disrupting the fragile order they've already committed to. And you can feel that tension, can't you? It's baked into every press conference, every no comment, every awkwardly vague quote about development timelines and building the right way. Translation? They know exactly what they have. And they're terrified of what happens next. Because here's the ugly truth about NFL front offices. Sometimes they'd rather protect their egos than promote their best players. It's the draft capital, the contracts, the politics, the pride. They've already paid other guys, promised other guys, built schemes around other guys. So to bump Shedeur up, to admit that the rookie outplayed everyone else in practice, that would mean publicly acknowledging they may have drafted the wrong quarterback or backed the wrong vet. And you know what NFL franchises hate more than losing? Looking wrong. So here they are, sitting on Shedeur like he's a winning lottery ticket. They're too scared to cash in. Every week he's on that sideline, helmet on, eyes scanning the field like a chessboard. He's not sulking. He's studying, learning the game within the game, internalizing every mistake the other QBs are making and thinking, I wouldn't have missed that throw. And you know that's what he's thinking, because you see it in how his teammates talk about him. Not with pity or one-day energy. With respect. You hear little things, like how he stays late, how he calls out coverages before they're even drawn up, how he's correcting receivers. Not like a rookie, but like a leader. That's the part that's got everyone shook. The leadership, the part you can't teach. Because talent? Sure, lots of guys have that. You can find arm strength and footwork all over the draft. But command? Presence? That follow me into battle energy? That's different. That's rare. And it's exactly what you want in your quarterback. So now we've arrived at the ultimate NFL tension. Do you ride with the guy you plan for or the guy who won't stop outperforming your plan? You'd think it would be simple. Play the best player. But this is pro football, where simple is a foreign language. And right now, the Browns are stalling. They're hoping the locker room doesn't notice the difference. They're praying the fans stay distracted. They're buying time. Except there's just one problem with that strategy. Time runs out. Every week, every quarter, every snap the offense underwhelms, the pressure builds. And the media? Oh, they're already circling. You've seen the questions. Why isn't Sanders getting reps with the ones? Will we see him in live action soon? Is he part of the long-term plan, or just riding the bench? And the Browns' answers? More diplomatic than decisive. It's all about development. We like where he's at. He's progressing the way we hoped. Let me translate that for you. We're scared to make a real decision. So we're going to talk in vague, inspirational quotes until the season forces our hand. You've seen this movie before. We all have. Remember Russell Wilson his rookie year? Yeah, he wasn't supposed to start either, until he showed up in preseason and stole the job. Same with Dak Prescott. Same with Brock Purdy. And no, I'm not saying Shedeur is any of those guys, Not yet, but I am saying those teams weren't afraid to change the plan when the film made the case. What's Cleveland waiting for? An injury? A 3-interception meltdown? A losing streak? Because that's the danger in waiting too long. You stop controlling the narrative. And right now, the Browns are on the edge of a moment where the narrative flips on them, where a cautious strategy starts to look a lot like fear-based mismanagement. And let's not kid ourselves. Other teams are watching. There's no such thing as a secret in the NFL. The second Shedeur Sanders throws a dart in practice or runs the scout team like he's calling plays for Real, someone's texting their GM. Keep an eye on the kid in Cleveland. If they cut him, we're claiming, we can develop him better. And if you don't think Shedeur knows that, think again. He's not delusional. He knows what the roster politics are. He knows he was buried for reasons that had nothing to do with talent. And yet, he hasn't cracked, hasn't complained, hasn't forced a trade or taken the bait when asked about his future. He's playing the long game, which, ironically, is exactly why he won't be third string for long. Because the NFL isn't built to ignore poise and talent forever, especially not at quarterback. Eventually, the cracks show, the pressure builds, and someone, some coach, some GM, some owner, throws up their hands and says, "Fine, put the kid in," and the moment he gets real game reps, if he shines, game over. The conversation changes overnight. Forget development. Forget future. You've got your present. You've got your guy. And suddenly, everyone's pretending they always saw it coming. So the Browns are standing at a crossroads right now. One path, stick with the plan. Stay loyal to the vets. Hope nobody notices a Ferrari in the garage. The other, do something bold. Do something brave. Hand the offense to the guy who wasn't supposed to be here yet, but somehow already is. That's the kind of decision that could define a franchise, for better or worse. Because make no mistake, if Shedeur Sanders goes on to ball out for another team in 2 years, while Cleveland's still trying to figure out its quarterback situation, it's over. It'll be another haunting name on the jersey. Another punchline. And this time, they can't blame anyone but themselves. So what's it going to be, Cleveland? Are you building toward the future or sitting on it? You can't do both. Sooner or later, the storm will come. And when it does, you're either going to be the team that saw it coming and made the right call, or the team that got swept away trying to protect a comfort zone. And I'll tell you this. In the NFL, nothing is more dangerous than comfort, because it'll lie to you. It'll tell you, we're fine. It'll whisper, he's not ready. It'll sell you on timelines and systems and protocols, until one day you realize the kid was ready the whole time.